Ooh, chaka chakalaka. Wow. Hump day. My favorite day. Just got to get over this hump. Maybe a lump or two. All right. Welcome back, everybody, to the Rant Network. I'm Stuart Brisdell, and that's David Solomon, if you haven't figured it out for the last 5 years. Every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, noon Eastern, David and I sort of lay it all out on the line in this wonderful podcast called the Rant Network that we also parse up to little videos that we post all over the place. Like us, love us, follow us. It's definitely a lot of fun. All right. Today, we've got something special. We're talking about a state that turned a governor into a governor wanting to be a vice president, that turned the government in mismanagement into an Olympic sport. Minnesota, baby. A state that used to be known for its lakes, its hockey, politely passive-aggressive people. Today is known as Sharia law and one of the largest frauds scandals in U.S. history. And before you go and fact check and melt down, this is not just about Tim Walz personally stealing money, because we don't know if he did or didn't, because there's no evidence of that yet. Maybe there is, maybe there isn't. Is there something there? I don't know. This is about leadership oversight and unbelievable ability of the government to look directly at red flags. And let me tell you something. We didn't notice them. And you know who else didn't notice them? ABC, NBC, CNN, MSNBC. And if you know how your dog pretends like he didn't hear you say, drop that, or even if he did, it ignored you, or it broke wind and quietly left the room, that's Minnesota's state oversight. It passed gas, left it in the room, and instead of telling you, hey, man, we may have a problem, it's let's sock it to the taxpayer for millions and millions and may even be billions of dollars. And this Minnesota, scandal is one that isn't being paraded, but should be like a buffet for the media, for all those government hawks that are trying to pick on Donald J. Trump's administration, but for years are not even paying attention. So feeding the future scandal, $250 million in just one part of this federal investigation that's involving indictments. Auditors are screaming about this for years, from stabilizing housing fraud, Medicare billing, nonprofit oversight failures. It's been like a smorgasbord of just everything. David, I know you've been following this a little closer than me, but I figured I'd pass you off with this. The former candidate for vice president that was underneath the hyena, you're trying to tell me they didn't see there was a something there, just wanted to rub the genie, or was it rubbing someone's ego? David,
you know what, Stuart? It's what's amazing is apparently back in 2024 they actually warned the Harris campaign there might be something poopy here in Minnesota, but they decided to overlook it because gender politics, identity politics, all that matters much more. And if you watch what's going on, you shouldn't be surprised. They buried the Hunter laptop, but they pushed the narrative about Russia collusion. They've buried story after story. They let Hillary Clinton's story go through. She basically committed treason. The media let it go. So we shouldn't be surprised that the mass media has once again let this story just not only fall under the rug, but not only talk about Tim Walz, but also not even to refer to the Somalian, the Somalians who are involved in this. They won't even call them by name. This is what we've become. It's all about partisan media. We are seeing this again. We cannot make the Dems, the liberals, the progressives look bad. That is now the mantra from the big three. Now, I'm surprised at CBS simply because of I know who's running, Barry Weiss running the news network, she said this is not going to happen. I'm trying to figure out how it did happen, but I'm not surprised from ABC or even more so from NBC. This doesn't surprise me, Stuart, because this is all about giving a pass. Because if you put the light negatively on any Democrat, it in their deranged minds, it makes Donald Trump and the Republicans look good. There was a crime committed here, Stuart. It's an alleged crime. All right. Tim Walz, who apparently allegedly knew what was going on under his watch. And apparently whistleblowers were told to stay away. They kept them away. There was a whole slew of things that are coming out. But again, the media doesn't want you to know this because it's Tampon Tim. The guy who stood up on a stage almost like Steve Ballmer, jumping up and down, excited because, he's going to be the vice president of the United States. That to him, putting tampons in men's bathrooms mattered more than saving hundreds of millions of dollars for his state that should have gone to people who truly deserve the money. Minnesota is not in a position of economic strength, and yet once again, that doesn't matter. He has been, when he was questioned and he takes responsibility, his answer is, well, I'll take responsibility for putting people in jail. Hey, Tim, you should be wearing one of those orange suits right now.
Hey, David, okay? Did you ever notice government only discovers fraud after the fraudsters finish their world tour? It's like running a retirement plan for criminals. Fraudsters buy cars, houses, boats, probably a hot tub shaped like Minnesota, and the state goes, wait, seems like something off. No kidding. When someone's buying Lamborghini lists for school meal providers and jobs that maybe should follow up a follow-up question, I don't know, David.
You know what? But Stuart, he went one step further in this interview with Kristen Walker. He was like, quote, I will note it's not just Somalis. Minnesota is a generous state. Minnesota is a prosperous state, a well-run state. We're a AAA bond rated, but that attracts criminals. Those people are going to jail. We're going to do everything we can, but to demonize an entire community on the actions of a few, it's lazy. No, Tim, you know what that is? That's your identity politics at work here. It's again refusing to call a spade a spade. It's you're refusing to take the accountability. It's you once again pointing the finger where it isn't being pointed. It's pointed at you. Buddy, you are the one who outed and called out Trump for not being responsible and accountable. And then when you do it, hey, it ain't me. We're going to prosecute the criminals that did it.
Hey, David, do you want to know what the Minnesota government job interview for the accountability department? Do you have any oversight experience? Nope. Do you have any financial training? Nope. Do you know how to read a spreadsheet? Absolutely not. Great. You're hired. Here's $250 million to manage. That's how it works in Minnesota. That's exactly how Tim Walz was trying to go into the vice presidency.
Look, it's not just there. Okay. And unfortunately, I'm not going to just single out Tim Walz and say he's the only one. But in this case, ladies and gentlemen, your
buck stops with him.
Your former VP candidate. And this is what is irking me, right? You've been lying. The media has been burying these stories because there's no interest in exposing the Democrats for what they are. Fraudsters. They are liars and they're cheaters. I'm not saying there are no Republicans who do it, but you take extreme measures to push a narrative that the Republicans and the GOP are out to screw the American population. But when a Democrat is caught with the fingers and the hands in the cookie jar, you suddenly turn a blind eye. This is what's happening. You're doing a disservice to the people of Minnesota and the United States. You lied. And when President Trump sued the ass off of ABC and they all ran around going, oh, no. How dare he do that? We're the media. Hey, you're not the media, people. You're a propaganda machine for the Democratic Party. That's all you are. You've lost your reputation as a status of being reliable and truthful. And Stuart will bring Walter Cronkite back to show his age, but that's irrelevant in 2025 because most people have no clue who Walter Cronkite is and what it means to have reliable news. What you want to do is you want to put out their narratives that just bitch about one side. But when your side, your team got caught, you're not firing the coach. You're just pushing the narrative somewhere else. Tim Walz is guilty. He has been guilty in the Kamala Harris campaign of lying about his background, and you buried it. He was lying about what he really stands for, and you went with it. When he talked about what he does for transgender and Minnesota's the state, what it does, you put that on a pedestal as if that was the most important thing. But for $300 million in stolen funds, that isn't important.
Well, okay, David, let's break this down. Here is what he's allegedly being accused of: the largest COVID era meal fraud in history, right? A nonprofit feeding our future, FOF, $250 million. Mass indictments and convictions on dozens of people. Connections with the fraud have already taken place. Internal oversight, there was none at the MDE. The state level governor's audit showed complete mismanagement, and Walz's office and his lieutenant governor put a blind eye. Other state programs beyond the meals. And then finally, congressional scrutiny. Subpoenas are coming for you, Tim.
You forgot one, but you forgot one more.
What?
You forgot one more. During Black Lives Matter,
he
let Minnesota burn. And
yeah.
no one.
Oh, you got me
on
that
called
one.
out when he was called out on that. Oh, I made a mistake, and that was it. It's over. It's over. It's over. It's fascinating to see who gets crucified and who does not. It's fascinating to see who gets a pass and who does not. It is just part and parcel of the fact that Tim Walz basically defrauded his state with $300 million. Now you're going to say, no, it's not him. It's not him. Guys, he knew about it. He put nothing in place. And when the smoke clears and finally you actually do, dig it up, this alleged, these allegations, whatever, you'll see. But what you're doing instead is burying it. You don't want it exposed. That Kamala Harris's VP candidate can't be guilty of anything. No Democrat is guilty of anything. Right?
Nope.
Zoran Mamdani gets elected as a
But we're not talking about Zoran Mamdani. We're talking about Tim Walz. You're getting off topic, David.
Stuart.
I have to point it out.
Stuart, thank you for pointing out a falsehood. You're just like the media. When Zoran Mamdani got elected, you changed the narrative. Tim Walz is caught. You changed the narrative. Do you not see the pattern of changing the pattern? But if this was Governor Abbott, or if this was DeSantis, or if this was some other Republican, this would be frontline news. Every news media and the liberal media would spend 47 out of 60 minutes, because there are a few minutes of commercials, just talking about this one Republican governor who's guilty as sin without even, forget the allegations. This is media today, Stuart.
Okay,
Tim Walz should be voted out in the next election or thrown out on his ass for lying to the people.
Listen, the Minnesota fraud alarm went off, beep, 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 and they just hit the snooze button. But more importantly, other than hitting the snooze button, going back to your George Floyd, May 2020, 1,500 buildings were looted or burned. Mm-hmm. The 3rd Police Department was overrun and burned down. And there's an estimated $500 million of damage. And these fuckers are still hung up on January 6th.
Yes.
I'm sorry, David. Let's bring this home. Let's bring this home. Let's bring this home.
How many people lost their jobs, but Tim Walz is still there? Because that's the problem. Tim Walz, you can't touch him. He's Teflon. Doesn't make sense to me.
Let's bring this home, brother. Fraud isn't just a scandal. It's not just political football. It's not just a headline for talk shows. Fraud is a symptom of government that's grown beyond its ability to manage itself. Minnesota's not alone. All these left cuckoo banana states are just like it. It's a warning of what's going to happen with your taxpayer dollars. It's a warning about lack of oversight because it's optional. It's a warning about what happens when leaders believe they can just lie about it and have no accountability. Will anything change? That's trillions of dollars of questions. Remember, they promised reform, they promised audits, and they had press conferences, right? What is the difference? Trump's taken office, it's been 9 months. The guy has turned everything on the head, has put light where there is darkness. And you are correct, David. The media has no shame. They cannot, they will not. And I'll give you the last word before I play our wonderful music. Guess that's the last word.
That's the sound you're going to hear from the media on the left when it comes to Tim Walz.
All right, everybody. That brings this episode to a close. Hump Day is over. Join us every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, noon Eastern, where David and I rattle it down in a podcast that eviscerates the social and media norms, giving you the facts, not fiction. Two guys on a damn podcast for 5 years.